Hi, so we're back for another deep dive. And this time we're going to be looking at self-made millionaires, but not just any millionaires. We're specifically focusing on the ones who made it big without that traditional, college degree. The ones who kind of skipped that whole college to career path thing. We've got a bunch of articles and personal stories lined up, and we're going to try to uncover what made these people so successful. And what's really interesting is that a lot of these millionaires, they don't actually see formal education as like the be all and end all. Like
Yeah.
they didn't all go to Harvard or whatever. And in fact, a lot of them actually say that sales is like the most important skill they ever learn. That's pretty wild, right? Like, you'd think it'd be some fancy business degree or something, but nope, it's sales. And we're talking about some seriously successful people here, like John Paul DeJoria, the guy who co-founded Paul Mitchell Hair Products and Patron Tequila. He actually started out collecting bottles, like literally while he was homeless. And he ended up building a $1 billion empire.
Yeah, it really makes you question that whole like go to college, get a good job narrative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We look at Brian Franklin. He's a self-made millionaire,
Hmm.
and he calls it the myth of higher education. He's basically saying that a degree doesn't automatically equal financial security. Honestly, he's got a point. There are a lot of graduates out there who are missing some key skills like marketing, sales,
Yeah.
leadership, stuff that you don't necessarily learn in a classroom.
Yeah, Franklin actually talks about this like misconception that some college grads have, like they think sales is beneath them or something.
Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because so many of these self-made millionaires, they credit sales as like the secret to their success. Like
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki, the rich dad, poor dad guy. He tells the story about interviewing a journalist who wanted to be a best-selling author. But this journalist refused to learn anything about sales. And Kiyosaki's like, dude, how do you expect to sell books if you don't even know how to sell? It's like marketing 101, right?
Totally. And you know what else comes up a lot in our research? Bootstrapping. And I don't just mean starting a business on a shoestring budget. I'm talking about a whole mindset.
Absolutely. It's about starting small, keeping costs low, and reinvesting what you earn back into yourself. Whether that's your business, your education, your skills, whatever, like you're constantly fueling your own growth.
It's like John Paul DeJoria again, right?
Oh,
Started his hair care business with practically nothing. Selling shampoo door to door, poured every dollar he made right back into the company, and just focused relentlessly on building relationships. Like he knew that was the key.
exactly. And that laser focus combined with his, frugality, it allowed him to scale his business without needing investors or loans. That's pure bootstrapping, using your own resources to grow. And it's so interesting to contrast DeJoria's approach with someone like my wife, Gina. She built a really successful business too, but her path was different.
Oh, yeah, Gina. She's amazing. She didn't go to business school or anything, but she was such a voracious learner. Always reading books and articles, going to workshops, finding mentors. Like she was constantly absorbing new information.
And that's the thing, right? Both Gina and John Paul, they focused on investing in themselves, in their knowledge and skills. Instead of racking up student loan debt, it's a long game. Building capital, whether it's financial or human, and consistently reinvesting in your ability to earn and create value.
Makes you think, huh? I mean, here I am with my fancy Ivy League degree, and these guys are out here building empires with nothing but hustle and a willingness to learn.
It really highlights that there's no one right way to achieve success. And it brings us to another fascinating concept, the school of hard knocks. Like a lot of self-made millionaires will tell you that real-world experience was their most valuable teacher.
Yeah, like Mark Echo. He built a $1 billion urban wear brand without ever graduating college. He learned by doing, by making mistakes, by getting mentored. And you know what? He actually received an honorary doctorate later on, but it was his real world achievements that got him there.
His story is like a perfect example of andragogy, which is the study of how adults learn. It's all about learning by doing, applying knowledge to real-life situations, and taking responsibility for your own educational choices, which is very different from traditional pedagogy where you're kind of spoon-fed information in a classroom.
Okay, so we've talked about the myth of higher education, the power of bootstrapping, and the value of real world experience. But here's where things get really interesting. Are you ready for the secret weapon? The thing that so many of these self-made millionaires attribute their success to.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
You got it, sales.
And before you tune out thinking, ugh, sales is not my thing, I want to be clear. We're not talking about those pushy, sleazy sales tactics. This is about high-integrity selling, where you're focused on building relationships, understanding customer needs, and providing genuine value.
Yeah, it's about finding that win-win solution. For the longest time, I had this negative view of sales. I thought it was all about smooth talking and manipulation. But then I discovered this thing called spin selling. And it totally changed my perspective.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the spin selling thing. What was it that clicked for you? And how did it change your view of sales?
So spin selling, it's really about asking good questions and like actually listening to what the other person is saying, trying to really understand their needs and what motivates them. It's not about like forcing a sale or anything. It's more like a real conversation. You're trying
Yeah.
to find a solution that actually works for both sides.
It's more about helping the customer than pushing a product, right?
Mhm.
And it's interesting how that whole idea of understanding and meeting needs, it's not just for business.
Yeah.
It's like for anything in life, right? Yeah, whenever you're trying to get someone to do something or see things your way.
Totally. And it's funny because remember those three core skills for success that Brian Franklin talked about? Marketing, sales, leadership. Well, spin selling, it kind of ties all that together, right? Marketing gets people aware of you. And then sales, especially with the spin selling approach, it's like the bridge between awareness and actually making a deal happen.
It's all about creating value instead of just trying to extract it.
Exactly. So, okay, we've talked about all these different paths to success. But how can someone listening actually apply this stuff to their own life? Like, what concrete steps can they take right now to start bootstrapping their own journey?
Well, I think it all starts with self-awareness. Figuring out what you're good at. What are your strengths? What unique skills and experiences do you have? And then once you've got that figured out, the next step is thinking about how to use those strengths to create value for other people.
It's like building your own personal toolkit, right? And there are so many different ways to develop those skills. Books, workshops, mentors. You can even learn a ton from failing sometimes.
Absolutely. And never stop learning, right? Always be looking for new knowledge and experiences that fit your goals and interests.
Yeah.
And don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to do everything at once. Just start small, find one area you're excited about, and build from there.
And dude, don't forget about the internet. It's like a giant library full of free resources, articles, videos, podcasts. You can learn pretty much anything online these days. And it doesn't have to cost you a fortune.
Be resourceful. Be creative. Be
Yeah.
proactive, and never underestimate the power of mentors. Having someone who's already achieved what you want to achieve it can be so valuable. They can give you advice, support, and sometimes those aha moments that can really accelerate your progress.
It's like having a cheat code for life, right? They've already been down that path, so they can help you avoid all the common pitfalls. And it doesn't even have to be a formal mentorship. You can learn a lot just by observing people you admire.
Speaking of learning from others, there's this story that really illustrates the whole idea of investing in your human capital. Have you ever heard of Cyan Bannister?
Cyan Bannister. The name sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it.
So she's the founder of Ziv.
Mm-hmm.
It's a website that's kind of focused on adult photography, but it's presented in a more artistic and tasteful way. But her story is really fascinating. She actually dropped out of high school when she was 16, much to her family's dismay.
Wow, so she's a true bootstrapper.
Oh, yeah. She's the definition of it.
Right.
She worked all sorts of odd jobs, waitressing, selling cars, all that stuff, constantly learning and picking up new skills. And she even started her own t-shirt company when she was 19. Like before the internet made it easy to sell stuff online.
So she's out there hustling, building her network, running a business, all while she's still a teenager. That's pretty incredible.
It just shows you that action-oriented mindset that so many self-made millionaires have. They're not waiting for permission or a degree. They're just diving in and figuring things out as they go.
It's about recognizing that learning doesn't stop when you graduate high school or college. It's a lifelong thing. It's something you can control and shape to fit your own goals and aspirations. So what happened with Cyan? How did she go from t-shirts to, that kind of website?
Well, she had this aha moment. She realized there was a gap in the market, like a need for a platform that showcased adult photography in a more artistic and tasteful way. And she had the experience and the drive to make it happen. So she bootstrapped her way to success, built a community connected with models and photographers, and created something truly unique.
It's like sometimes the best opportunities, they come from the most unexpected places. It's those moments when you step outside your comfort zone and look at things from a different angle.
And it's also a reminder that you have to believe in yourself. Cyan had a vision, and even though she didn't have a traditional background, she went for it and made it happen. It's a lesson for all of us. Sometimes the biggest obstacle is our own self-doubt.
Oh, yeah. We all have that inner voice, right?
Yeah.
The one that tells us we're not good enough or smart enough or whatever. But we have to learn to ignore that voice. It's just noise. You have to
Yeah.
push past it and go after our dreams.
It's about having that why not me attitude. Like, why not you? Why not take a chance on yourself? Invest in your skills and knowledge and build a life you're truly passionate about.
And that's what this whole deep dive is really about, right? It's about exploring these different paths to success, challenging those old beliefs, and empowering ourselves to take control of our own journeys.
We've talked a lot about the financial side of success, but it's important to remember that success isn't just about money. It's also about finding fulfillment and purpose and making a positive impact on the world. And those things can take many forms. They're not limited by your income or your education.
Yeah, it's about finding that thing you're good at and that you love doing, and then figuring out how to make a living from it.
Exactly. Sometimes it means doing things your own way,
Hmm.
you know, not following the traditional path and defining success on your own terms. That's what these self-made millionaires have done. They've shown us that there's no one right way to do things. It's about embracing what makes you unique and being willing to learn and grow.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We
Yeah.
talked about the myth of higher education, the power of sales, the importance of lifelong learning. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final question, something to think about.
Okay, shoot, I'm listening.
So we've seen how these self-made millionaires, they use their experiences, their hustle, their constant desire to learn to achieve incredible success. But here's the thing. If traditional education isn't the only path, what steps can you take today to start creating your own path to financial freedom and fulfillment?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's something we should all be asking ourselves. What are we passionate about? What skills do we want to develop? And what can we do, even if it's just a small step to start moving in that direction?
It's about taking control, not waiting for someone to give you a map, but creating your own path, one step at a time.
And remember, there are so many resources out there to help you on your journey. Books, workshops, mentors. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Hmm.
And don't forget about the power of community. Surround yourself with people who support you and who are on a similar path.
And that's really what the deep dive's all about, right? Creating a community, sharing inspiring stories, and encouraging everyone to explore their full potential.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a quote from Zig Ziglar. He was a motivational speaker and a self-made millionaire himself. And he said, "You can have everything you want in life if you will just help other people get what they want."
That's a powerful thought, right? How can we use our skills and knowledge to make a positive impact? Because in the end, I think that's what true success is all about. Creating value, building connections, and leaving the world a little bit better than we found it.
So go out there, embrace that entrepreneurial spirit, and start creating the life you want. And remember, we're all in this together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.